Former President Donald Trump has once again made headlines with bold claims about his ability to end wars, including the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. In a recent interview, Trump was asked about his stance following the Alaska summit, where discussion centered on a possible ceasefire between Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump's answer was blunt. He says he wants the war to end, but if it doesn't, he's prepared to use economic pressure rather than military force.
When to Alaska, you had mentioned that there would be severe consequences if Vladimir Putin did not agree to a ceasefire.
Yeah.
After that summit that was rolled back, given the negotiations, is he back on the clock now?
I want to see that deal end. It's very serious what I have in mind if I have to do it, but I want to see it end. I think that in many ways he's there. Sometimes he'll be there and Zelensky won't be there. You know, it's like, who do we have today? I got to get them both at the same time. But I want to have it end. We have economic sanctions. I'm talking about economic, because we're not going to get into a world war. I'll tell you what, in my opinion, if I didn't win this race, Ukraine could have ended up in a world war. We're not going to end up in a world war.
According to Trump, sanctions and tariffs, not soldiers, are the tools he believes will stop Russia. He stressed that under his leadership, the world would not be dragged into another world war. In fact, Trump went as far as to say that if he hadn't been elected president back in 2016, the Ukraine war might already have spiraled into a global conflict. Trump
Anymore, but it would have ended up possibly in a world war. That would have been they were ready to trot. But just like India and Pakistan, we're going to end up in a nuclear war if I didn't stop them. You know, it's sort of strange. I saw they were fighting. Then I saw 7 jets were shot down. I said, that's not good. That's a lot of jets, you know. $150 million planes were shot down. A lot of them, 7, maybe more than that. They didn't even report the real number. And I'm talking to a very terrific man, Modi of India. And they say, what's going on with you in Pakistan? Then I'm talking to Pakistan on trade. I said, what's going on with you in India? And the hatred was tremendous. Now, this has been going on for a hell of a long time, like sometimes with different names for hundreds of years. But I said, what's going on? I said, I don't want to make a trade deal. No, we want to make a trade deal. I said, no, I don't want to make a trade deal with you. You're going to have a nuclear war. You guys are going to end up in a nuclear war. And that was very important to them. I said, call me back tomorrow, but we're not going to do any deals with you, or we're going to put tariffs on you that are so high. You were there, Howard, right? Yeah. You're going to put tariffs on you that was so high, I don't give a damn, your head's going to spin. You're not going to end up in a war. Within about 5 hours, it was done. It was done. Now, maybe it starts again. I don't know. I don't think so, but I'll stop it if it does. We can't let these things happen. The Russia-Ukraine situation, last week, 7,012 soldiers, 7,012 soldiers died.
He also brought up his past record, pointing to an incident between India and Pakistan during his time in office. He recalled how tensions were building. Fighter jets were being shot down, and nuclear war seemed possible. Trump says he personally stepped in, threatening tariffs and blocking trade deals until both sides calmed down. Within hours, according to Trump, the situation was resolved, and he claims it never reignited. He then drew a direct comparison between that episode and today's war in Ukraine. Trump emphasized a staggering human toll. Reports of 5,000 to 7,000 deaths each week, with soldiers and civilians alike losing their lives to drone strikes and heavy fighting. He described families sending their sons off to war, only to lose them days later in what he called a stupid war.
They were Russian, they were Ukrainian, they weren't American, so a lot of people would say, what do you care? They're not American. I care. They're 12,000, over the last couple of weeks, over 12,000 people died in like in 2 weeks. You know, we're talking about crime where somebody's killed here or somebody. Think of it, you have your son leaving Russia, leaving Ukraine, their little house, wherever they live with their parents, they're waving goodbye, just like our parents would wave goodbye. And they're waving goodbye, son. And then a week later, his head's blown off in a stupid war by a drone, a whole new form of military problem. So, no, I'd like it to stop. I want to get it to stop.
Trump didn't shy away from criticizing both sides. While he acknowledged his working relationship with Ukraine's President Zelensky, He insisted that it takes two to tango and argued that Zelensky is not entirely innocent in prolonging the conflict. He also pointed out that U.S. funding has shifted, saying that America is no longer directly giving money to Ukraine, but instead supplying NATO, which then covers costs for military equipment. Still, Trump's central point remained.
It will not be a world war, but it will be an economic war. And an economic war is going to be bad. And it's going to be bad for Russia, and I don't want that. Now, I have to also see, because not everybody, Zelensky is not exactly innocent either, okay? It takes two people to tango, and I say it all the time. You got to get them together. I get along with Zelensky now, but we have a much different relationship because now we're not paying any money to Ukraine. Stop that. We're paying money to ourselves. What's happening is NATO is buying all of the equipment and paying in full. But even with that, forget about that. I want to get it stopped because it's a lot of lives that are being lost. Every week it's 7,000, 5,000, 6,000. I get the reports, and I see battlefields. I'd rather not see them. And you read about Gettysburg. You read about Gettysburg, and you see those 600,000 people. But in that war in particular was really bad, like 150,000 or something, just dead body. I'm seeing the same. I see pictures. I see satellite pictures of heads over here, arms over here, legs over here. And this is like a modern age. It's no different than the worst wars that I've ever seen. And if I can stop it because I have a certain power or a certain relationship.
Too many lives are being lost, and he believed he alone has the influence to bring it to an end. He even noted that he had once stopped 7 wars, including some that had dragged on for decades, and argued that his unique relationships with world leaders, especially Putin, could once again make the difference. The former president painted a grim picture of the battlefield. He compared modern satellite images of destroyed soldiers to historic accounts of battles like Gettysburg, saying the death and devastation are just as horrific now as they were in past centuries. Arms, legs, and heads scattered across fields. This, he said, is what convinces him that ending the war must be a priority. Trump concluded by emphasizing that the solution doesn't have to be military, whether through sanctions, tariffs, or direct negotiation. He believes his approach can prevent further bloodshed. Thousands of young lives, he warned, are being cut short every week. And in his words, if he can stop that, it won't be because of ego. It will be because he's the only one with the power to do it.
I had a very good relationship with President Putin. Very, very good. That's a positive thing again. And I think I'm probably the only. Steve Witkoff would tell you I'm the only one that can solve it. I don't know. He's told me that a few times, unless he was saying that just to build up my ego, but it's not really. I have no ego when it comes to this stuff. I just want to see it stop. Thousands of young people, mostly young people, are dying every single week. If I can save that by doing sanctions or by just being me, or by using a very strong tariff system, that's very costly to Russia or Ukraine or whoever we have, But I stopped 7 wars, and 3 of those wars were going on for more than 30 years. If you look at Congo, if you look at, just look at any of them, almost all of them were going on for an extended period of time. Now, interestingly, one had just started. It was 2 days old.
What do you think? Can Trump really stop the war, or is this just political talk? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want more breaking updates like this, make sure to hit subscribe, tap the bell, and stay tuned, because this story is far from over.